Hey guys, welcome to Farm Charm Chic. I'm Emily. I am so excited that you are here with me today because in this episode, it is the 5 Under 5 DIY challenge. I have 5 wood spring DIYs for you to make that are all so chic and so farmhouse. You're going to love each and every one of them. On this channel, I do crafting, DIYs, dupes, hacks, and thrift flips. And if that's something that you like, I would love if you would consider subscribing. And as always, if you like what you see in today's video, I would love if you would give this video a thumbs up. But let's get right into the DIYs. So for this cute little sign, I'm just taking a square piece of wood. You could do whatever shape. You can use a Dollar Tree sign. You can use a scrap piece of wood. And then I have these little teeny shapes that I got in a bag of different shapes at Hobby Lobby in their wood section. It was like $3.99, I think, for an entire bag. You get a ton of different shapes. So I'm just taking, they look like little petals to me, so I'm going to use them for some flowers. And I'm just giving the background a complete coat of paint. You can do this whatever color you would like. So I want this to have a really distressed look, so I dip my chip brush in some white chalk paint, and then I am just going very slowly up and down and lightly, just enough to kind of let that paint go on there. Once you do that, you do not want to go over it until the paint is completely dry or it will smudge it more. So I just kind of go around the edges there, and then I use my heat tool and let this completely dry, and then I go back and do it in the opposite direction to give this a more weathered look. I just love the way this looks. You guys know I love distressing. I know that's a very personal preference, so of course you'll do this as much or as little as you want on your projects. And I even go in with a little bit of blue paint on my brush and go over if it got heavy with white in some areas. And then if I feel like I got a little too much blue, I go back with some white, back and forth until you get the desired texture that you want. I take 3 of these little wood petals and I paint 3 of them red, and I am just going to go around the edges with a little bit of white offset because I want there to be some dimension to these when I glue these together. They're going to be tulips, so I want these petals, when they're glued on top of one another, to show up really well. And then I do the same thing, although I do yellow because yellow and red tulips are 2 of my favorites, and I just love those colors. And I thought the primary colors would be really fun for this project. So I just stack them on top of each other to look like tulips and just use a little bit of hot glue on the edges that need to be glued together there. And I just eyeball it. You can kind of see how when you stack the 3 of them together, you can have a tulip that's more open or closer together, however you want to shape that. But I just loved these 3 shapes together being tulips. And so I have these 3 on my yellow are smaller than the red, so there was a little contrast there. I did that mainly because I didn't have 3 more of the bigger ones that I used for the red, but I think the different sizes works really well. So again, just the same thing with the yellow, I glue that all together to be the same shape as the tulip. So now I am going to put these onto my background. So I just kind of layer them the way that I want them. And then I start with gluing the red one down first because I want to layer that yellow one on top. And so I just set them kind of, a little bit like tilted on there together. I thought they just looked so darling, those cute little tulips. Now you could easily leave this sign the way that it was. I did cut out some words that said fresh picked tulips to put on here. Again, you guys know I don't freehand anything on here, so if you can freehand or anything, that is great. Go ahead and do that if you would like. One trick that if you use vinyl on your projects, though, to make it look not so shiny, is to go over it and dry brush it with a little bit of paint, and that kind of dulls it down and helps it look distressed as well. I just thought that this was the epitome of spring. I love this. Tulips are some of my favorite spring flowers. I just love them, especially the yellow and the red. What do you guys think of this? I would love to know if you guys have a favorite spring flower that grows and what that was. Let me know down in the comments. I love hosting this 5 Under 5 challenge with my good friend Missi over at the Crafty Cove. She and I love doing this every month and bringing you all sorts of fun DIYs that are each under $5. This month we have Mary Beth joining us as our host. She is from MB Gray Designs. Both of their channels are going to be linked down in my description box. You guys are going to love Mary Beth. Definitely check out her channel. She is so talented and she is so creative. I love her DIYs, and we are so happy to have her guest hosting with us this month. There is a whole playlist with creators that all have 5 spring DIYs that each cost under $5 for you. If you would like to watch that, which I highly recommend that you do because there's so many great DIYers and so much great inspiration on this playlist. But down in the description box, there will be a link for you to click on and it will just play through the whole playlist. I will also pin it in my comments at the top, so if you see it there, you can just click on that and it will just take you directly to that playlist. Let's get right back into the DIYs. I'm so excited about this project. So I am taking 2 of these 1/2-inch poplar that you get at Home Depot or Lowe's. You can see that they're like $2.10 for each one, and I'm using 2 of them. Now I'm making a little tea towel ladder to go in my kitchen so I can decorate it for different seasons. So that's how I'm making this one kind of spring, because you can decorate it for the different like seasons or holidays. So I am just cutting them down. I'm going to put the measurements down in my description box. But when I have to cut a couple pieces of wood the same length that are little like this with my miter box, my miter saw, I just take them and tape them together with painter's tape to make sure I get an even cut on both pieces. After I have like the sides of my ladder all the way done, I'm going to cut the rungs. So I cut all 3 of those, and then I am going to kind of space these out, measure them with my ruler to kind of see where I need to space them. And then how I do it is I just use some Dollar Tree wood glue, but I glue the top rung on and then the bottom rung before I place the middle. That way I kind of can get a good idea of where I want to place that middle one, make sure that it's even, rather than marking this up with pencil marks, because I'm going to leave it this natural wood color where this is going to be in my kitchen and it is going to be around food. I didn't want it to have like a finish or anything on there that wasn't food safe. So I didn't want to mark it up with a bunch of pencil marks. And since I'm not using nails or anything on this, just the wood glue, I'm just using a couple of clamps to clamp this together. Now I only have 2 clamps that were big enough for this, and they were sufficient. So I'm just putting them on a couple of the rungs there, you can see, and just tightening that up. And then I just let this dry. And I am so excited about this because I love having things like this in my kitchen to decorate for different seasons. So I just put this little tea towel on here to show you, but you could jazz it up with a little wreath. You could hang some cute little things from it, have a rolling pin set up next to it, whatever you'd like for the different seasons or holidays, but so simple to make. Dollar Tree has these wood signs which are adorable but not necessarily my style, and I'm also using one of these Dollar Tree calendar pages for this DIY. So I'm just cutting out that adorable truck on here as well as the words fresh flowers, and I just want to make a stacked kind of wooden sign. Now I do end up using 3 of these little wood signs here because you'll see in just a second what I decide, but I just thought this was so cute to have these on there, and I'm just cutting them down to size, and I'm just putting that truck there, and I'm looking at it thinking it might need another layer. So I take part of the white one that I cut off and I am just going to use that. So I do end up using a total of 3 of the signs to make the 4 little layers, and I just cover them all completely in white paint. These are stacked together and glued. I want you to be able to tell that they are like wooden blocks here. So I'm going around all of the edges with some elephant chalk paint. You could use like antiquing wax or anything like burnt umber, anything like that. And I'm going to go over with a very, very dry brush to kind of add a little bit of texture to match the background of that calendar page, if that makes sense. Because that word where it says fresh flowers, it had a little bit of texture on the back. So I'm trying to match that so it blends in. And you guys know, if you've watched me at all, I love to use this purple glue stick. It holds wonderfully. You can see where you're putting it. It dries clear. I absolutely love this stuff. After I glue these down, I do go over them with a little bit of what's left of that elephant chalk paint in my brush and very lightly go over to a very, very dry amount. That way, if that even makes sense at all, it kind of helps distress it and it all matches the background to the piece of paper. Now I am just going to glue this truck on here and make sure that it is nice and centered. Be careful, I almost tore that truck right there, so I'm so glad that I didn't. But I just kind of make sure that it is on the 2 bottom blocks, that those flowers don't peek up to that top block, because I thought that would be, I just didn't like the look of that, and I didn't want to have to deal with cutting that, and you'll see what I mean by that. So I just kind of flatten it all out with a scraper there, and then I'm going in with like my little like X-Acto knife here, and I am slicing the truck because I want this to look like it's blocks stacked together, not just one cohesive design, if that makes sense. I mean, it will look, hopefully this makes sense to you how I'm doing this, but I even go through and sand a little bit on the edges here because I want it to look, you know, like it's 1, 2, 3, 4 stacked together. And And so I'm just distressing around there. And I just think this looks so cute. I love going over this truck with the elephant chalk paint. I think that just brings it to life and makes this piece look so cute. I'm just using some Dollar Tree gel super glue to glue these together, and so I'm just going to take my like second piece here and glue on the bottom of it, and then I will line that truck up. So it's super easy to do. You just line that up, and then I go on to the next layer to glue that together, just get that centered, and then I'll do that last layer. Now that super glue dries really quick, but to help it be nice and secure, I am just going to use some clamps to clamp this together. And then for the top of it, I'm just taking some sprigs of like little floral picks that I have. These are just little pieces off of other florals that I have already. And I make a little swag to go on the top of it here. Now that pipberry I got at Hobby Lobby, it comes in like a gigantic like roll of it that you get over by the ribbon section in the springtime, and it will last you all spring long, Easter long, forever. Like there's so much of it. And then I'm just taking these cute little yellow and pink flowers. These just came off of another Dollar Tree pick that I had. I just took a couple of them off to glue on there. And I thought this just like gave it a really cute look, and voila. I think this just turned out so cute. I love coming up with new ways to use the Dollar Tree calendar pages. They are so cute and it is so fun. What do you guys think of this one? Don't forget that I'm on Instagram also. I love to meet new Insta friends, so I would love for you to come over and say hi, check out my page, and see all the latest projects that I'm working on. I'll be sure and leave a link down in my description box so you can easily find me. I am making a really cute layered sign here, and this little wood round came in a pack of 3 or 4 of them from Hobby Lobby, and it just costs, when you buy it on sale, it ends up only being $3 or $4 for all 3 of them. And I'm just staining both sides with some antiquing wax, and you kind of see I'm very liberal when I put it on, and then just kind of wipe it off with a baby wipe. You could use a brush. You can stain this to be how dark or how light you want, but I just wanted a nice, good, like dark wood piece behind everything. So for the very top layer that I'm using this cute little bunny that I got at Dollar Tree, and the edges are always so rough on these that I go around and I sand the edges first, and then I'm just giving this a complete coat of white chalk paint, and then to bring out the little definitions of this cute little bunny shape, I am just going around with some antiquing wax to highlight those areas. This is one of my most favorite types of signs to make. This is I make these signs all the time for my house, and I get so many compliments on them whenever I do them on my channel. Everybody loves how they look, and they are so fun to do. So I'm just cutting a little piece of styrofoam there to glue to the back of the bunny, and then I am going to glue it onto this wood sign, and then we're going to make some magic happen here. So using a couple sprigs or picks from Dollar Tree, and then I have this whole bag of like leftover pieces that I collect as I'm done using things that I'm pulling out to use for this. I'm just going to layer florals all the way around this thing to look like it's just poking out from underneath this bunny. So if I have like 4 of a particular type, you can kind of see how I do like top, bottom, and sides, and then I go off center, and you're just going to work your way around the whole shape of whatever you're using for your centerpiece, and you're just going to keep sticking in evenly around all the different florals. This is so fun because you can add your colors here that you want to use, and like I'm just kind of doing more purples here, and you can use like whatever your favorite flowers are or just greenery. You could even do, if you didn't want to go as far as sticking all these different ones around, you could easily put like a wreath behind. I've just had a hard time sometimes getting the wreaths to stick, and so that's why I ended up doing this method right here, and just keep going around until it looks great to you. Now I'm taking this piece of rope from Dollar Tree, and I wanted to make a tag for the back, but as I was unraveling it to get a little strand of it, I thought that all the little pieces of it would make a cute bow. And so I'm going back and forth deciding if I want a Mrs. or a Mr. You'll have to wait and see what I choose there. But I take a piece of that rope and I just tie it off to make the little hanger there, and then use a lot of hot glue on the back. And then using this pip berry, you can kind of see down in the corner the roll of that I got at Hobby Lobby. It is going to last me a very long time. I bought pink and yellow. Buy it when it's 50% off. It's going to last you forever. And I am just taking this off and sticking those down in the pink and the yellow and kind of every other one, if that makes sense. I go with that method of doing like 2 on the sides, 1 on the top, and then turn it and kind of go on the corners there. So that way it looks like it's even all the way around. And it's wired, so I did just wrap it around like a pencil or something to kind of give it that little corkscrew shape, and I thought that was super cute. Now I'm just trying to decide if I want a Mrs. or a Mr. here. I ultimately decided that if I put it up as a Mrs., it covers a lot of the bunny shape, and I didn't want to take away from that. So I glued it down on the bottom to be a little bow tie for a little Mr. Bunny. The bow would be completely optional, and whatever your preference was. What do you guys think of this? I absolutely love this. It is such a cute little hanger. You can put this on a door. You can hang it from a peg on a shelf. You wouldn't even have to put the little hanging tag on the back. You could use this on a plate rack. I just absolutely love this. This project is perfect if you have a couple pieces of some scrap wood hanging around. You guys, if you've watched me for any time, know that we had a barn we tore down, and so we have a bunch of extra barn wood. So I am just using that for this particular DIY, but you could even use a couple of Dollar Tree signs for the background as well. I just wanted there to be a decent size to this, so I am just sandwiching these 2 pieces together here. I just put some wood glue down the center, and then I am just going to use my clamps to help that dry. I am not going to do any additional nails or support or anything. I have found when I've done this, it holds up great because it's very little use that it's going to get. It's just going to be setting on a shelf. Now on the edges where I cut my wood down, I'm just going in with some antiquing wax to cover that up, so that way it is not like the fresh wood there that it all looks like it's all weathered and aged. I am going to use this cute little tag in the project, so I am just untying the twine because I want to put that back on in the end. And I'm just wanting to make this look like enamel, so I'm covering it completely in white chalk paint. I'm not putting anything on the back because it's going to be glued onto the project. You won't see that. But I go around the edges with some black paint. And I like to use my foam brush to do that because I feel like I get a really good precision with that, if that makes sense, going around the edges, because I can just kind of rub that on the edge. And then I want this to look like the enamel is chipped in areas. So I will go in on different areas, and I'll show you here. I kind of will like squish my sponge on the side there and let that black paint kind of seep on, and then just kind of pull that into the direction I want, and that kind of makes it look like chipped enamel. Now, of course, this is just if you want to have a look like this is how you do it. You could easily just leave it all white if you wanted to. And then you could use a rub-on transfer, you could do some freehand, whatever you wanted to put on this tag is up to you. I chose to cut out the word hello. I thought this looked so cute on here and very welcoming. And so on the little tag hanger there, I go in with a little teeny tiny brush, you can see, and just kind of give that a little bit of the enamel look too. So now back to our wood background. Once that dries, I am taking this little piece of like coconut, I don't know, it's like what you put in the bottom of pots, and I cut it in half. So I'm just using half of it. And then I have these florals. The one came from Dollar Tree, the purple flowers. The other one I've had in my stash for literally like years. I don't even know where I got it from. But I'm taking this little plant liner and I am going to staple it onto my wood piece, and to kind of look like it's like a little planter pot there. You can kind of see the look I'm going for here. And then I even have to, after I staple it, I want it to be very flat against the wood. So I will go with some hot glue on the edges and glue that down completely. And then I'll just kind of press that down until it dries there. And then I have this bucket of paint, and that's what I end up using to make sure it dries securely. This is such a fun project because you can customize it with the different florals that you wanted to use. I just love this little grass that I have. And again, I wish I knew where I picked this up. I want to say I think I might have got it at the at-home store. I've literally had it for like maybe 10 or more years. It's been forever. And so I'm just layering that in there. And then the purple flowers I thought would look so cute to have kind of hanging out. And I set it up so I can kind of position them where I want them, because I just thought that would look so cute. And I go in with my staple gun and I staple it all down against the wood, so that way it's nice and secure in there. So that's how I get it to stay. And then I put a lot of hot glue. You can see I'm just putting tons and tons on the inside there, and because I want that plant liner, the little pot liner, to be nice and flat. And so I put my paint on there to make sure that dries completely flat there, and then I will just kind of come in here and fix everything once it's dried and make sure everything's positioned how I want it to look. So hopefully this is making sense to you. Now I want to put this cute little tag on the front because it does kind of break up that little pot liner there. And so I just put the little tie back on, and then I'm going to staple this on as well. You'll see how I do that. So I just tie this off completely before I staple it down, and I'm just going to position it and then kind of flip it up. You can kind of watch how I do this here. And then I just kind of, and I'm sorry that I get a lot of my arm in the shot there, just kind of staple that down and flip it back over. And then I just put a lot of hot glue on the back of it and just hold that down so it's just glued completely into place. And then I go in and this little coconut husk stuff that this is made out of, I just kind of fluff it up to kind of give it a little bit of texture. I just absolutely love how this turns out. I think this is so cute. I love the floral choice that I made, but that's definitely something that you could change to your liking. I want to know what you guys think of this if you like it. I just think that this is so beautiful and I can't wait to use this. I would like to thank you guys so much for watching today. I absolutely love doing this challenge, the 5 Under 5. It is held on the 5th of every single month. That link to the playlist is down in my description box, so make sure you check that out and see all of the fun, talented creators and all of their inspiration that they have for you. If you had a favorite project today, or if you liked any of the projects, I would love if you would click that thumbs up on this video. And don't forget to comment down below what your favorite spring flower is. I would love to know that. And as always, you guys, I would like to remind you to be safe, be smart, be nice, be happy. Choose to have a good day because you are amazing. Thank you so much, guys. We'll see you next time. If you enjoyed the video that you just saw, here's another one that you might enjoy. And as always, remember to like and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching and have an amazing day.